Okay, so we are continuing to analyze my games in Kiambu Open 2025 chess, and this is the round 2 game. Black against John Thon Gong. Is that Goni Thon Gong? It's yeah. Let me just see if I got the name right. And in round 2, I'm playing on board 10 against Yangoni John Thon, which is a difficult name. And we get straight into it. Find the first game, which we already looked at. This is the round 1 game against Clinton. And here I'm black, so the game starts e4, c5, the Sicilian defense, and then he plays the c3 move, which is the Alapin. So the two strongest moves against Alapin are actually this move and this move. But in this game, I opt for a third move, which is this. And normally you probably get a move like this. This is a fairly decent kind of line. But you have to know what you're doing, of course, as with all things. And then here already, Thongong plays, Johnny plays this move. And this becomes like it could be a Grand Prix with a couple of changes in the move order. So I just played. I know for a fact my bishop is coming to what do you call it, G7. So here already out of book because the opponent has played something fairly unconventional. But again, people sometimes think I cannot play chess, so just as well that you got into this position. And he went ahead to play this very natural move, knight f3, developing a knight. He wants to bring his bishop out. Later at some point he'll probably play d4. Bishop is going to come out maybe to e2 or somewhere, or c4, or sometimes even here. Then they'll castle this side and maybe create quite some havoc and have some attack. But in this position, I thought for a few minutes and then went ahead and played knight to f6. Now, knight to f6 is probably a move. You see, it looks very enticing for this move to happen. That's exactly what happened. The other move I had in mind was to play here immediately. But then after this move, actually the position is still fine, and maybe black is even a little bit better. The structure is not unusual, and maybe I could play knight c3, knight c6. I could play the knight here. The other knight can go to h6, or I could play this, bring the knight here. So all these possibilities exist, but I didn't like quite something about this, and I probably need to study this position because it's a main, it arises a lot in a lot of chess openings, and maybe that was the best move, I think. I'm not sure. However, I played this very interesting move, and the idea is that I'm putting pressure on this pawn. The knight can't come to attack it, which is the main thing in the Sicilian. So my opponent plays e5, which looks like the drawback. And the reason why I played this move instead of d5 is because I was expecting this move, and later in the game I felt that I'd have to use this pawn here to attack this pawn center, because you'll have this very nice pawn triangle here. And so to deal with that, I thought I need this pawn to break it up a little bit later. So it's a fairly, I'd say, a little bit advanced concept, but this is why I played knight f6. And I knew I was coming here. Then they played, of course, d4. I don't want to pick because these pawns become very strong, but instead this was my plan all along, so that I can eat into this center quite comfortably. So my opponent plays pawn takes, and they still have a very nice pawn structure here, making this bishop irrelevant. But now they make this move that looks very enticing, but it's a very bad move. The idea is that when I move my knight away, let's say here, which is not where I went, let's say here, then they take my queen, I take back, and white is chilling. However, I actually played my knight out to b4, and now there's this threat of check. They went ahead and stopped me from castling, and now this looks like it's very bad for black, but in reality it's not, because how do you stop this check? The only way, I think, was knight a3. This is what was played, but now this knight can't be chased away because this pawn move is not possible. There's a knight sitting in, and you'll see how this plays. Now I've played these positions before, so the main thing that I didn't like is that this knight can come here at some point, attacking this pawn and attacking this pawn, and defending those two guys can be difficult. So I just played this move, removing that threat for the rest of time. And white is fine actually in this position. They played bishop e3, attacking this pawn, I played here, and now I should just castle, because after castling, it's a check. The king can move in and protect that pawn, and you can see that white is chilling. However, what he did is they just put the rook to check me, and I'm quite happy to play. Initially, I thought I'd play this, but that's not a good move because it allows this check, and then this knight can come out at some point if need be. Of course, not here. So I found this move bishop d7, which is in fact the best move, and the idea behind that is I want to play here. First, I want to reserve the option of taking the knight anytime. I also want to play this move so the knight can't come to this square with check when my king goes to c7. So white played bishop to e2, getting ready to castle. I played here. They played this move, and here there's already a possibility that they're going to push this pawn one step. I'm not concerned about that at the moment, because let's say I play knight c6 and they play this move. I'll just attack the queen, the knight there, and you can't win up. You can't save your pawn. You're losing a pawn in this line, one or the other. I think that's what I thought. Maybe I'm missing something because they are very active pieces. But here they castled. Now after this castling move, of course, anytime they play f5, I'll always have this pawn to take this pawn. But I didn't like that possibility, so what I did is I played here. They castled, and what happened? Yeah, so they checked me. Rook, bishop d7, bishop e2, a6, stopping this knight from ever getting there. Then they played here immediately, and I think in this position, yes, I didn't bring the knight out. I actually played here. The reason is by bringing the knight out now, yes, this pawn is hanging, but this pawn really can't be taken twice, and that gives a bit of activity. My king is in the center, so it's possible that black would want to sacrifice this pawn, and white would not sacrifice this pawn and open up the position. So instead, I brought my king up. That was part of the plan actually, and now they castle, and there's a threat of playing f5. Although this pawn is hanging, the activity will be good for white. White will have initiative, so I stopped all that by playing the move e6. Now this move is impossible because I'll just pick it, and after I've picked it, it's a free pawn. This pawn will fall, my rook will come to this file, my bishop can come to this diagonal, my knight can come out, and I can even double here. So you can see how this position is just winning for black. So instead of that, my opponent now, this pawn has been hanging for the longest time, but I'm not interested. The main thing is you want to develop fast. But now I'm almost developed. So this move is in fact, taking here now is almost possible. I didn't want to do it immediately, partly because it's tying down. Anytime this knight moves, I can probably pick it. Okay, so instead they brought back the rook to defend the pawn. And here I thought, what's my setup? How do I want to put my pieces? Yeah, knight out. They brought the rook in to attack my bishop. Which rook should come here? Is it this rook or is it this rook? I felt this rook is better, because then how I get the rooks to be active is by moving this bishop to this e8, which is exactly what happened. So here we are really just figuring out a couple of things. So he played knight e4, knight f3. I didn't see his plan actually. The plan is very simple. He wants to go to d2, bring the knight in, and the knight can then control the square. Anyway, I proceeded my plan, bishop e8. Then they played this move. The plan is to come to e4. But now this is a mistake, because I have this move here. I'm attacking your bishop. I'm threatening this fork. And if you take, I take back with my rook, attacking this pawn, pinning that knight, and the knight can't come here anymore, because if you do that, I just pick it and you lost a piece for nothing. So I think this is what my opponent saw. And in this position, of course, I'm ready to go ahead and double. My bishop can come to this diagonal, and you can see just as well that black is winning here. Actually, you may not see, the last note is a win, but the position is such that white pieces are really tied down. Black has all the activity. So instead, my opponent saved the bishop, but that allowed this move. And here, because this knight is not mobile, the best move for them probably is to pick. I pick back. Incidentally, the engine is recommending something else, that the best move was what? Bishop to c6 is best. Okay. Still, this is what I played. Let's see what would happen by the after bishop to c6. Let's say this knight can't come out, because I can then pick. You come back. This is a bit tricky. Anyway, so this is what I played. I thought I'm winning a piece actually after this move, because if you save your bishop, for example, then I take your rook, you take back and I play here, but my opponent just played a move I didn't expect, which is just king c2, defending that bishop. Still I win an exchange, pick that, and the knight still wants to come to this square, so we stop that by playing bishop to c6. And in this position, my opponent played knight to b3, which didn't make a lot of sense as a move. And there's a move here that I played that I thought was very good, and actually it is probably the best move in the position. I would not play it normally because it messes the pawn structure, but the pawn piece activity here is more important. So I looked at this bishop, it's not doing much. How do you activate it? The best way is actually to play this move. Yes, this pawn becomes weak, this pawn becomes weak, but suddenly you probably have to pick here. I pick back, and maybe how do you defend that pawn? You don't want to play a move like that, because this buries the rook, this is pinned literally, and this position is completely losing for white. So my opponent looked at this and thought, okay, fine, it's time to free his pieces on that side. So he just leaves the pawn undefended. Of course I take it, then he brings the knight, and here I had the option of taking here. What I didn't like is he'd come back to the square. I come back, I pick, the pick I pick back, and now they have all this activity. And I didn't like giving my opponent initiative. He has this bishop, he has a knight, he has a bishop, he has a rook against my king. This can turn out nasty. Now, of course, I can just play here immediately, but again, I mean, to shut down everything, but you don't want to play like that. So instead, I made a simple plan. I already have an exchange and I'm getting an extra pawn. I made a decision here to simply take the two bishops. It's a fork attacking the king and the rook. They literally have to take with the bishop. I take with my rook. Okay, and then in this position he attacks my rook, and I come to d7 so that the rooks can double at any time. And I didn't tell you, initially I was facing the question, should I pick here first or not? And every time I thought not to pick, because they pick with check, my king would have to move away. But the other reason why I kept this pawn here is because there's always a possibility of a pin. So in fact, in this position, the very next move, my opponent makes a mistake and plays knight to d2, and immediately this move wins another pawn. So the pawn is pinned, they can't pick back, and no matter how you try and defend it, I'll always be able to win. You can't pick with your bishop, because I'll just attack your bishop. Now the bishop can't move, there's a pin there, and if you pick with the pawn, I can always pick back. So this is just completely losing for white. Actually, the game is more or less lost, to be honest, but they played here. I picked, bishop has only one square, and now gluttony, I just picked the pawn. Maybe that wasn't the best move. In fact, the best move here was just to begin to push the pawns down, send the pawns down. It's a very easy chess plan. I'm going to pick your push, attack your knight. Okay, so if this is played, I wonder, can I just play this? Yes, takes here, And where does the knight go? I'm not sure. And this position is actually very bad for, of course, very bad for white. Anyway, said I did my gluttony thing. I picked that guy. Rook out. I brought bishop back to g7. They made this move, f4. Now f4, the idea is very simple. You take, then the rook comes in, your bishop comes back, and they can take here. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't want to give any unnecessary piece activity. Plus, this pawn is a weakness that I'll pick later in life. So I went ahead and played the move a5, fixing this pawn. Now this pawn needs defense. The only person to defend it is a rook. So I thought this was a fairly strong, nice positional move. But now they brought the bishop out to exchange. And here I should just pick this. And after that, maybe find a way to push these pawns up the board. But instead, I played bishop to d4 check. And of course, if you pick with the knight, which is what most people will do, I pick with the pawn. And now my pawns can push down the line. And this is, I mean, everything here is good. However, my opponent picked with the bishop. I saw this as well. Sorry, my opponent picked with the bishop. I saw this as well. And I'd actually planned to pick here with the pawn. But then it occurred to me that after this move, attacking my rook, if I were to play a move like this, there was something I didn't like. I think it was it this move or something? C5? There's a bit of activity that wasn't quite happening. Or was it the other knight coming through? I can't remember what it was. But there was a bit of activity that was quite unpleasant by his pieces. I don't remember exactly what I saw, and I thought that, yes, I'm winning, but the task is a lot harder. In fact, I felt the best line involved giving out a piece, giving out a couple of pawns, and I didn't like that idea. So let me see what the engine is saying about this. So if I were to play here, yes, they can play, let's say, so saying king e2. I'm not sure. That's a very hard move to play, to be honest. But that is, those are some of the things I saw. So instead of that, I assessed that I'm actually still ahead by 4 pawns and picked here with my rook. And the idea is that I'm taking away all these extra pawns. Right? I predicted this move is going to play it. I took a bit of time to think here because I thought first, should I pick? If I pick, I play here, then where can he play? I didn't like this move because now my pawns can't move easily. It's a bit complicated. Maybe I play my bishop here, but then this knight now has activity, and it's kind of a bit too complicated and too many moves. And suddenly, yes, I have 4 pawns, but they can win 2 somehow by some tactics. Knights are very tricky, and things just go haywire. So instead, I felt this is my time to activate my pieces. So I pushed, I picked, and brought the knight out. But that's why I pushed this pawn. And now I think you can figure out what's going on here. They checked me. I don't want to tie my king out in the corner. Then they brought in the knight. Simple threat. They want to come here, attacking the king and attacking the rook. And I played here. Now here it looks like they could try a move like this. And however, I thought I'll probably just take it. And if they take it back, then I continue my plan. And this is going to be checkmate very soon. Actually, now I didn't play here first. I would actually play this move. Because after this check, I want to be able to play this kind of a move and block it. And even if they were to avoid that and play something different, I sort of felt I'd be able to, let's say, play here. I thought I'd play check, and this king has to go to the back rank, and this is just winning one way or the other. So that's not what happened. Instead, after this move, I'm attacking the knight. The knight can't pick the pawn. It can't go there, can't go there. This check results in an exchange, so he played this move. But then I played d5, d3. Looks like a threat. They want to bring the rook here. But actually, there's something here that I had in mind that turns out was not very good. I thought for a moment that I could play here, attacking the knight. But in fact, after this move, I may have given out a big chunk of my advantage. That's what I thought, because the next move is this, and it doesn't work anyway. So let's say here this, but I think king can just come here or something, and when you pick, I can pick back or something of this nature. So it's not as bad as I thought it was, but still too much complication. I've seen from the engine those are not the best moves, but that's what I had in mind. So anyway, knight a6, d3. They brought the knight down to b8, check, but here you can already see these guys want to queen. You can't play here really, because I'm going to play here. You have to stop this check, maybe there, and this transposes to what we saw in the game. So instead he played here, I played check, king e2, and I pick here now, threatening checkmate. Well, basically, is that a checkmate? It is a checkmate actually. Queen picks, and it's here that my opponent resigned, and I won this game. So let's look at the next. Oh, hi Ankit, Katian Chess. Thank you. So let's look at the next game. The last game that I lost, actually I lost that game, though I was much better at some point. Yeah, in the next video.